Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us on the WWL Louisiana News at 4. I'm Devin Bartolotta. Here are today's top headlines. Attorney General Liz Murrill is warning New Orleans city leaders that their jobs may be at risk after they made moves to install an interim clerk of court and hold a special election to fill the newly created role. The AG says those decisions trigger a law that would force elected officials to forfeit their offices. But Mayor Helena Moreno says Murrill's threat is illegal and she's not intimidated. This afternoon, we also learned about a recall petition filed against the Attorney General. It was started by the same person leading the charge to recall Governor Jeff Landry. This would require signatures from 20% of active registered voters in the state to move forward, and those must be submitted in less than 180 days. Early this morning, a Senate committee voted to move forward with a new congressional map. The GOP-backed 5-to-1 map was approved after more than 9 hours of testimony. Democrats call the proposal a political power grab that weakens black voting strength, while Republicans say it complies with the U.S. Supreme Court ruling on racial gerrymandering. The overwhelming majority of public comment during the hearing was against the map. And it now heads to the full Senate, with lawmakers facing a June 1st deadline to finalize those districts. Right now, a former North Carolina police officer accused of plotting a terror attack in New Orleans is in court. Christopher Gillum was extradited from Florida yesterday. He was arrested in Destin on April 22nd after authorities say they heard credible evidence that he planned to carry out an attack at a festival. And this was just one day before Jazz Fest started. Gillum could face up to 15 years in prison if convicted. The Saints are heading to Paris, and now we know what team is heading overseas with them. This morning, the boys in black and gold posted to social media saying they'll face the Steelers on October 25th. It is the first ever regular season game to be played in France. And sports reporter Ricardo Lecomte joins us now. Ricardo, we know this is not their first international game, right? It is always exciting, though.
It is always exciting because you're playing in a different country, in a different stadium, in front of different fans. Yeah, this is the fourth international game for the Saints, the first since 2022 when they were in Tottenham Hotspur in northern London. This is actually the first game outside of England that the Saints will be playing in, and they'll be playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, a 6-time Super Bowl winning franchise, a very popular franchise in the NFL. And yeah, for a while we already knew that they were going to be the game in Paris. This is the team that's the representative for the NFL in Paris. And now there were rumors in February that it was going to be the Cleveland Browns. Instead, it's a different AFC North team in the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I'm excited to see both of these teams playing in Paris. First game ever in France, in Paris. They're playing at Stade de Francais. That is the fancy, biggest stadium in Paris. That was actually where the opening and closing ceremonies of the Olympics were held. So now they're going to be playing the first NFL game in that stadium.
You know, I'm from the Pittsburgh area. I'm sure I've got some family members already like Googling some flights at this point. And you were at that game in London the last time the Saints played. Right. What is the environment like when you walk in and see that NFL game being played in another country? Well,
the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium was about 70,000. That's the capacity for that. And it was pretty close to capacity. It is actually one of those things where overseas, they feel like even though it is kind of a niche sport a little bit, it's still popular around, not just in England, around Europe. So before the game and talking to fans, they hailed from like everywhere, whether they were from France, from Europe, Eastern European, talked to a bunch of Eastern European fans that were Saints fans and like diehard Saints fans for like decades.
Cool.
So like since and this is the whole thing that Roger Goodell wants to do with the NFL. He wants to expand the game internationally. It is a record 9 international games that the NFL will be playing this upcoming season, and they are in different locations. So like last year, the first time they ever played in Madrid, Spain. A couple of years ago was the first time they ever played in Germany. This year, they're going to be playing in Melbourne, Australia for the first time, Paris, France. This is all about Roger Goodell's plan to kind of just put their footprint of the NFL around the country, around the world, and kind of expand it. And yeah, it is catching on in Europe. There's a lot more and they're just fans of franchises. So like, you know, like you'll have 32 different jerseys in the stands. Not just the two teams that are playing. They're popular of all the teams. And certainly it'll probably be the same type of setting when they play in Paris on October 25th.
Awesome. All right, Ricardo, thank you so much for the update. Remember, you can always find the latest updates on this story and all of today's headlines on our website, our social media pages, and our free app for your phone or your TV.